So section 5, we have secure configuration. What are the requirements for this section, Neil?
Secure configuration is about making sure your operating systems and devices are configured in a secure, best practice manner. This means removing unrequired software or disabling those services that are on there. So a piece of unused software that you don't use that may have come with the laptop or the desktop or on a tablet that you just don't use can get vulnerabilities over time, and you need to remove those, because if you're not using them, they could cause you a problem at a later date. It's where you need to keep those things updated, but if you're not using it, remove it from the device. The next level then is, we also do this about user accounts. So if you have user accounts you no longer use or require, disable them, or where best practice would be is to remove them. It's just another method or account that can be used on that device. We want to make sure they're removed. It also expands on this a little bit further, where we talk about removing default accounts or changing the passwords on these devices as well. You don't want to be using default passwords. We also want to talk about configuring your services you have in your networks as well that provide access to data across the internet that you don't want other people to see. So what we primarily want here is organisations to understand what services they expose to the internet. You don't want others to access to it. So that could be a VPN service, an email service, access to a database, or more common as we see now, other organisations supplying cloud services and hosting it on their own networks. You need to have a good authentication method around that. Now, those authentication methods are outlined in another section of the requirements document, but at very minimum you must be using a 12-character password, okay, or even better, and this is what we require really, and this is the way the world's moving forward, we need you to use multi-factor authentication with at least an 8-character password, or you can use a password deny list. So that's a password list where all the common passwords are listed and you stop users using those, okay, and those passwords must be at least 8 characters. Now the recommended password list is the one the NCSC, they're scheme owners, and they've got a password list that is available of 10,000 common passwords, and that's a good starting point if you need that to be done. But that password list must be enforced in a technical manner. Okay, a lot of the common systems now from Microsoft have that built in, so you know that's a good starting point on that one. So another area that needs configuring as well for secure configuration is how you access the device. So you need to have a PIN number to access. We don't talk about in Cyber Essentials now, this is where this all gets a little confused, but it's often talked about that we require Cyber Essentials on all your devices to lock the screen after a set period of time. That is actually not a requirement outlined, but what we do want is if you to have a locking mechanism, and then you use a PIN number at least to unlock that device to again get access to all the data and organisational services. But those data and organisational services will be further protected by using another authentication method to get to them. That PIN number we talk about, because this is an unlocking mechanism that is stored only on the device, can be a minimum of six-digit PIN number, but we always recommend pushing that a little bit further than that if you can.
So when you talk about devices, are you talking about laptops, desktops as well as mobile devices, or are you purely talking about just
No, we would talk about it for laptops, desktops, mobile devices, where it allows this unlocking mechanism. Okay, but it's normally used in mobiles, smartphones and tablets. That's where the original requirement came from. But yeah, we want that unlocking mechanism there really. Okay.
Yeah, because I was going to say, sorry, about the pitfall side of things, we see that quite often.
Yeah.
Is the fact that they don't separate between one and the other. They'll just give, this is how we unlock our mobile device, because it says device, they just assume that it's mobile device. I think just reiterating the fact that it is all devices.
It should always be unlocking it, because you just don't want people to unnecessarily look at stuff that's on your screen or whatever. But it came about from unlocking your PIN number and setting it between passwords, etc. I just want to clarify a little bit about why we don't set a time limit to lock your screen, because that's virtually becoming a default setting. If you're using a Mac and a Windows, it's pretty much nowadays they will lock automatically after 10 minutes, and then you need something to unlock to get back in, rather than just pressing a keystroke like enter to you know, take your screensaver off or whatever. You will need to then put a PIN number in or a password to unlock that device. But even that technology is moving on now, because it could be a biometric or something like that, like a fingerprint or a face scan or something like that. There is another thing that we need to add in this extra area, is about disabling auto run and auto play. Something else that's very common now and actually done by default, but we also need you to consider this: you don't want programs you download from the internet to automatically run. You want a decision point in that process, because that is often somewhere where ransomware or something like that would come into play, where they are trying to trick you into downloading something and it runs automatically. So you want to check that you have those mechanisms in place to make sure software plugging in a USB drive doesn't automatically run something. It's a little bit outside, because they're not necessarily attacks from the internet, but they're just good standard, good practice, and they're in the scheme for that reason. Okay.
All excellent points. And I was going to go into pitfalls, but I think we've pretty much covered all those little bits within what you've said. So yeah, really appreciate that, Neil.
I suppose the thing is, really, just to finish this section off, you need to have like a gold standard build. So if you have a number of laptops, you follow the same practices with those laptops all the way through. Remove the unrequired software, make sure you're not advertising too much, change the default passwords, etc. Just get in that standard practice of building all your devices in the same manner.
Do you include Intune in that as well, Microsoft Intune, and within that?
Intune can certainly, and those kind of products can certainly help here to make that journey easier. Yeah, so when you connect it into the Microsoft system by joining what they call Entra ID, it plug into the Intune and it can give it a standard configuration. Yeah, it can really help you.
Excellent.
Yeah, well, that's great advice, Neil. I think, as Stephen said, yeah, great stuff, and it's very, very useful. So if your organisation is interested in obtaining cyber essentials, check out our website, cyberessentials.online.